ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः Namaskar, my dear friends. So, I am starting my third video talking about Final Talks, a book written by Annamalai Swami, a very important piece of teachings of Maharshi Ramana and Annamalai Swami. It is very good for those who are interested in self inquiry. So I start with a question put to Annamalai Swami. As I mentioned before, I hear the sound all the time, but I feel that the experience is not deep enough to take me back to an absorption in the self. I say this because I am not experiencing the peace that Swami is talking about, the peace in which the sound disappears and leaves peace alone. I'm trying to go deeper. I'm asking myself where the feeling of the sound comes from because I want to remain in the heart in bliss. Annamalai Swami replies, Inquire, who am I or what is my real nature? The nature of the self is nothing but peace. If you are not aware of that peace, it means that you are identifying with something that is not the self. As long as you hear, taste, and smell things, you identify with the body. When the perceptions and the perceiver of them vanish, you become aware of the peace that is there all the time. Next question. I hear the sound, then I ask myself, who is hearing the sound? And the answer is I. What happens next depends on where I am. If I am in Swami's presence or in the meditation hall at Sri Ramanashramam, I feel the presence of the self and the bliss of peace. But when I am away from Swami, it is not so easy. Annamalai Swami replies, You need not hold on to that because you are that all the time. That is enough. You are that. How can you hold on to that or feel separate from it or try to get it back or lose it? If that is your real nature, how can you pretend that you are nearer to it in two places and separate from it when you are somewhere else? Question put to Annamalai Swami. I have the experience of that with Swami, but I do not know have that experience when I am away from him. This is definitely my experience, so I do not really understand what you are telling me. Annamalai Swami replies, Your understanding or your lack of it does not affect the truth of what I am saying. You are that. See who you are, and there will be nothing obstructing the experience of the you are. That means you are the soul, the reality. Question. I still say I see who I am when I am near Swami. When I am away from him, I can remember it as a fact, but it is not my direct experience. Ramlai Swami replies, This is because you identify with your body and your mind. Your mind is making you believe that a certain experience can only happen when you are in a particular place. Give up this identification and you will find that the self is everywhere. You will see it, know it, and be it. Wherever you go, everything is Swami, including you yourself. So actually, we are all habituated to be slave to our ego and mind. Until unless we remove this hurdle of mind and ego, we have to experience the same problem as this devotee who is putting question. So we must be aware of our own self. That is most important point. But it takes time to have this sort of awareness. Next question. How do I give up identification with the body, particularly when I am not in front of Swami? I keep practicing, but I don't have that experience. Annamalai Swami. Meditate, I am the self. So always have the feeling that I am the Atma, I am the self, I am the soul, I am the real consciousness. So you have to have this feeling all the time. If you do this, the idea that you are the body will go, I am the self is still an idea, and as such, it belongs in Maya along with all other ideas. But you can begin to conquer Maya by giving up utterly wrong ideas that bind you and cause you trouble. How to do this? Replace them with ideas that are a better reflection of the truth and which are helpful in leading you to that truth. If you want to cut iron, you use another piece of iron. In battle, if someone shoots an arrow at you, you shoot one back. In Maya, if the arrow of a bad idea comes speeding towards you, dodge it, don't let it stick to you, or you will end up in pain. Then, in retaliation, fire back the arrow, I am the self, at the place where the wrong idea came from. Sadhana is a battlefield. You have to be vigilant. Don't take delivery of wrong beliefs and don't identify with the incoming thoughts that will give you pain and suffering. But if these things start to happen to you, fight back by affirming, I am the self, I am the self, I am the self. These affirmations will lessen the power of the I am the body arrows, and eventually they will armor plate you so successfully the I am the body thoughts that come your way will no longer have the power to touch you, affect you, or make you suffer. This fight all takes place within Maya because in reality you are peace and peace alone. But while you are suffering in Maya, you can use these thoughts as a means of ultimately conquering it. See, I am the body. Consciously, you may not know, but in the subconscious mind, this this is, embedded completely in our subconscious mind in a very subtle way without our knowing. I am the body idea is the foremost idea, foremost thought. We may not know it consciously, but unconsciously it is all the time present, and this is the most difficult problem. Next question. To remain as myself, to have this awareness, I am the self. Is it enough that I merely hear the sound because I do hear it everywhere? Annamalai Swami. If it is constant, it will be enough. If you don't forget your real self, that will be enough. Your real self is everything, not an atom exists apart from the self. You, the real you, the self are all inclusive. When I say give up your identification with the I am the body idea, I do not mean that you are not the body. I mean that you should give up the idea that you are only the body. You are all bodies, all things, all creation, but paradoxically, this knowledge will not come to you unless you give up identifying with particular objects such as I am the body and limiting the thoughts such as I am so and so called. When you have given up all thoughts, all identification, the true knowledge suddenly dawns on you. I am the unmanifest self and I am also the whole of manifestation. So, I tell people this physical body is not you. The mind is not you. Go beyond them to see what is really behind them. This is done to make people give up their incorrect limiting ideas so they can have a direct experience of what is truly real. I'm asking people to be aware of the rope of reality instead of being confounded and led astray by the mental illusion of the snake. Question. This I thought seems to vibrate at the same speed as the sound and the feeling of I. So when I think I, it reminds me of the sound. This seems to happen by itself. But afterwards, I need to think I to remind me of this vibration that is going on. Annamalai Swami replies, since you forget your real self, the only way is to go back to your real self. If you keep the light on all the time, darkness cannot enter your room. Even if you open the door and invite it to come in, it cannot enter. Darkness is just an absence of light. In the same way, mind is just a self-inflicted area of darkness in which the light of the self has been deliberately shut out. You live in the darkness by insisting on believing ideas that have no validity, and you live in the light of the self when you have given up all ideas, both good and bad. Question put to Annamalai Swami. So, you are saying that believing that I am a body and a particular person is purely imagination, or better still, a bad habit that I should try to get rid of. Annamalai Swami replies, correct. This habit has become very strong because you have reinforced and strengthened it over many lifetimes. This will go if you meditate on your real self. The habit will melt away like ice becoming water. Next question. Bhagwan once remarked that free will is non existent, that all our activities are predetermined, and that our only real choice is either to identify with the body that is performing the actions or with the underlying self in which the body appears. Someone once said to him, if I drop this fan, will that be an act that has always been destined to happen in this moment? And Bhagwan replied, it will be a predestined act. I assume that these predestined acts are all ordained by God, and that as a consequence, nothing happens that is not God's will, because we as individuals have no power to deviate from God's ordained script. A question arises out of this, if I remember the self, is this God's will? And if I forget to remember at a certain moment, is this also God's will? Or taking my own case, if I make an effort to listen to sound I, is this God's will or is it individual effort? Annamalai Swami replies, forgetfulness of the self happens because of non-enquiry. So I say, remove the forgetfulness through enquiry. Forgetfulness or non forgetfulness is not a part of your destiny. It is something you can choose from moment to moment. That is what Bhagwan said. He said that you have the freedom either to identify with the body and its activities, and in doing so forget the self, or you can identify with the self and have the understanding that the body is performing its predestined activities animated and sustained by the power of the self. If you have an oil lamp and you forget to put oil in it, the light goes out. It was your forgetfulness and your lack of vigilance that caused the light to go out. Your thoughts were elsewhere, they were not on tending the lamp. In every moment, you only have one real choice to be aware of the self or to identify with the body and the mind. If you chose the latter course, don't blame God or God's will or predestination. God did not make you forget the self. You yourself are making that choice every second of your life. Annamalai Swami. A question put to Annamalai Swami. In Swami's book, someone asked him, I am making decisions, but I don't feel that I am making these decisions. It is just my destiny or divine will. You answered him by saying that this was correct, but now you are saying that whether or not one does self inquiry is nothing to do with destiny at all. Annamalai Swami, the self is always present. Nothing obstructs your awareness of it except your self inflicted ignorance. Our efforts, our sadhana are directed towards removing this ignorance. If this ignorance is removed, the real self is revealed. This revelation is not part of destiny. Only the other bodily activities are destined. Okay. Next question. So my inner life is my own responsibility. I cannot blame Bhagwan if I am not remembering myself. Annamalai Swami replies. Bhagwan is always present inside you and in front of you. If you don't cover the vision of Bhagwan with your ego, that will be enough. The ego is the I am the body idea. Remove this idea and you shine as the self. That is the only thing you need to do in this life. The various events of your life, all the things that are going to happen to you, they are all destined. If you don't want them to happen, they will still occur even if you try to avoid them. And if you want things that are not in your destiny, they won't come to you. There is no point worrying about the outer events of your life because you can exercise no control over these destined activities. Your responsibility in this life is to see who you are, not to rewrite your life script. Next question. I can therefore blame God, destiny, or Bhagwan for everything that happens to me in this world. But at the same time, I have to assume responsibility for everything that goes on inside me. Annamalai Swami replies, correct. This Bhagwan you speak of is not a body, a person who existed at some time. All is Bhagwan, all is Ramana. There can be no mistake in following Bhagwan's path because Bhagwan is like an eternal light that is always burning, a grace that is always giving. To be aware of Bhagwan is to be aware of this inner truth. If you are not aware of this Bhagwan, it is your responsibility, not his. He is not hiding from you, you are hiding from him. He does not think that he is separate from you. It is you who believe that you are separate from him. Next question. The outside world is a miserable, confusing place. There is not much going on there that helps us to remember who we really are. Annamalai Swami, yes, you can say that this state of affairs is also Bhagwan's grace, Bhagwan's compassion. You could say that he keeps the world like this as an incentive to go inward. This state of affairs sets up a real choice. If we go outward, there are problems. If we go inward, there is peace. Next question. I want to ask about some other aspect of this that sometimes trouble me. The desire to become absorbed in the self seems to be some kind of vasana. It is still a desire, and to indulge in it implies that I must look for something that I don't already have. With this attitude, I then feel that I am setting up enlightenment as some kind of future goal and not as something that is here and now. There is something very dualistic in this attitude, and I am sometimes get the feeling that I am not accepting Bhagwan's will for the present moment. If I am looking for something that is not here and now, Annamalai Swami replies, this desire is not counterproductive. The desire for enlightenment is necessary because without it you will never take the necessary steps to realize the self. A desire to walk to a particular place is necessary before you take any steps. If that desire is not present, you will never take the first step. When you realize the self, that desire will go. Next question. Though I know that the self is changeless, it seems to me that my experience of it is different in different moments. Sometimes it is more intense, deeper. The peace and the bliss are felt more intensely at certain times. The mind wants more peace, more bliss. It is not content with merely because or feeling. The aham safurna, the I emanation. Is this creating a problem for me? Is my desire to keep going with my sadhana correct? In each moment, I am having some experience of something that does not change. I am either hearing or feeling the aham sapurna. But always there is this desire to go deeper or to be feeling more peace, more bliss. I am not satisfied with experience I am having. Is this desire to do more sadhana a good desire, or is it interfering with self awareness? Annamalai Swami replied, your ultimate need is to get established in the changeless peace of the self. For this, you have to give up all thoughts. If this has happened to you, nothing more is needed. If you are in the real state, there will be no wants, no desire to push on to some other state. In realization, there will be no desire for anything else and no doubt about whether anything is needed. This final state is just peace. There are no desires and doubts there. Question put to Annamalai Swami. I am not experiencing the peace that Swami is talking about. I must therefore need to do something more. Annamalai Swami replies, see who you are. That is the only advice I can give you. You are peace. Be that peace, and there will be no hankering for anything else. Question is put. The problem seems to be asking for that peace, desiring it. Annamalai Swami. The one who is asking is not you. The thoughts that come and go are not you. Whatever comes and goes is not you. Your reality is peace. If you don't forget that, that will be enough. The subject of this conversation is a verse that Bhagwan wrote in 1913. It originally appeared in Sri Ramana Gita and was later incorporated into Ulladu Narpadu Anubandham, the supplement to 40 verses. In the interior of the heart cave, Brahma alone shines in the form of the self with direct immediacy as I enter into the heart with questing mind or by diving deep or through control of breath and abide in the self. Next question says, in Ulladu Narpadu Anubandham, Bhagwan mentions the three paths self enquiry, observation of breathing, and diving within the heart. Could you please say something about this diving? What is, how it happened? Annamalai Swami replies. The result of the following these three paths is the same self-realization. And it can also be said that the three paths are also the same. Although at first sight the description of them makes it sound as if three totally different techniques are being described. Bhagwan said, do self-inquiry, find out who you really are. When you are totally absorbed in this problem, this inquiry will lead you to the self. Some people, though, said that they found this very hard, or they said that this method somehow did not appeal to them. Bhagwan would sometimes tell such people to watch the breath to see where it arose. Bhagwan always maintained that mind and breath arose in the same place, so focusing attention on the source of the breath is really the same as focusing attention on the source of the mind through self-inquiry. The third option is diving within. This is not a separate path, it is just another description of what happens when you follow self-inquiry or when you find the source of the breath through intense observation. Diving within means putting your whole mind on the self. When the one pointed intensity to discover the self is there, diving in happens and mind goes back to its source and merges there. Question. So there is no special method for diving within, it happens by itself. Is this true? Annamalai Swami says, it does not happen by itself. You have to go on making an effort until the point where you become totally effortless. Up till that moment, your effort is needed. The mind only gets dissolved in the self by constant practice. At that moment, that I am the body idea disappears just as darkness disappears when the sun rises. Question. I have read several books about the practical side of Bhagwan's teachings. Moni Sadhu wrote about the eye current. Osborne wrote about a current that is not physical but which can be felt physically. My understanding is that these writers were describing a current of some sort that helps sadhakas to be aware. It is said in these books that it can be felt very strongly. What is this current? Is it a special grace of Ramana or is it common to all paths? Annamalai Swami replied, Ramana and other gurus only show us the way. We have to walk on the path ourselves to realize the truth. If you want to go to America, having someone tell you where it is and how to get there will not magically transport you to that place. You have to go to the airport and get on the plane yourself. You have to carry out the instructions the Guru has given you until you realize the truth for yourself. Grace takes us to the Guru. Grace shows up the way home by guiding us in the right direction. But we still have to do the work ourselves. Question. My question is not so much about grace itself, it is about this eye current that I have been reading about. Is it the grace of Ramana? Is it the grace of the self? I do not know the answer to this question, but I feel this current very strongly inside me. Annamalai Swami replies, this current, this I am consciousness is present within all of us. It is not something special that devotees of one particular guru have. It is our nature, and as such, it is common to all. But only a few souls are mature enough or ripe enough to be aware of it. Though it is present within all of us, grace puts us in touch with it and gives us a taste of what it is like. And once that taste is there, the thirst to realize the self follows. Tayumanuvar, a Tamil saint whom Bhagwan often quoted, wrote in one of his poems, my guru merely told me that I am consciousness. Having heard this, I held on to consciousness. What he told me was just one sentence, but I cannot describe the bliss I attained from holding on to that one simple sentence. Through that one sentence, I attained a peace and a happiness that can never be explained in words. See, in our Hinduism, there is a process known as Shakti Path. Once a realized soul gives or showers his grace to a ripe sadhaka, so even one word or one sentence will do the magic. That is a fact. Maharshi Ramana used to just put a serious glance over a person, and that person used to get a very blissful experience. Same way, Ram, Ram, mm, Paramahamsa Ramakrishna used to do the same thing. He used to touch a ripe soul, and that person would get bliss, and sometimes his Kundalini Jagran may occur. So these are the facts. But this happens only in case the person is already ready, not to just a rowdy person. The person must be pure hearted. He must be having sattvic pravritti. Not everybody just look and no, nothing like that. Only deserving and eligible sadhakas will experience this type of divine grace, not everybody. Question. When Bhagwan spoke about the death experience that happened to him when he was about 16 years old, he said, I held my breath and kept my lips tightly closed so that no sound could escape. Neither the word I nor any other word could escape. Why did he do this? Annamalai Swami replies, he did not want mental energy to escape through the mouth. The five senses are always moving outwards in an attempt to engage the world. The mouth is one of the channels through which the five senses move outwards into the world. When the mind and the breath are restrained, when mental energy is not moving outwards to engage with the world and its object, the mind starts to go back to its source. At 16, Bhagwan may not have known this, but this is effectively what happened. This death experience was something that happened to him. It did not occur as a result of something that he consciously did. Question. Bhagwan wanted to know the answer to the question, who am I? He seemed to find the answer straight away. When I ask the question, when I try to find out what the self is, I can reject thoughts that arise as being not me, but nothing else happens. I don't get the answer that Bhagwan did, so I am beginning to wonder why I am asking the question. Annamalai Swami reply. You say that you are not getting the right answer. Who is this you who is not getting the right answer? Question. Why should I ask? Asking has not produced the right answer so far. Annamalai Swami replies, you should persist and not give up so easily. When you intensely inquire, who am I? The intensity of your inquiry takes you to the real self. It is not that you are asking the wrong question. You seem to be lacking intensity in your inquiry. You need a one pointed determination to complete this inquiry properly. Your real self is not the body or the mind. You will not reach the self while the thoughts are dwelling on anything that is connected with the body or the mind. Question. So it is the intensity of the inquiry that determines whether I succeed or not. Annamalai Swami replies, yes, if inquiry into the self is not taking place, thoughts will be on the body and the mind. And while those thoughts are habitually there, there will be an underlying identification and I am the body, I am the mind. This identification is something that happened at a particular point in time. It is not something that has always been there, and what comes in time also goes eventually, for nothing that exists in time is permanent. The self, on the other hand, has always been there. It existed before the ideas about the body and the mind arose, and it will be there when they finally vanish. The self always remains as it is, as peace without birth, without death. Through the intensity of your inquiry, you can claim that state as your own. Inquire into the nature of the mind by asking with one pointed determination, who am I? Mind is illusory and non existent. Just as the snake that appears on the rope is illusory and non existent. Dispel the illusion of the mind by intense inquiry and merge in the peace of the self. That is what you are, and that is what you always have been. Next question. Has Swamiji realized the self? Annamalai Swami. Yes. But this is sometimes a strange question to answer. It is like having somebody ask you if you have become a human being. You are always a human being. You did not have to do anything to accomplish it. You are self-evidently a human being, so much so it is strange to field questions about it. Question. It is not self-evident to me. Annamalai Swami replies. Then find out who you are. Question. How does one find out who one is? Annamalai Swami. You will find out by constantly doing self-inquiry. Ask yourself, am I the body? Am I the mind? When self-inquiry is deepened, you understand who you are. Question. How long did it take for Swamiji to find out? Annamalai Swami replies, if one is mature, one can realize it in this moment. If one is not mature, one has to take up sadhana to make oneself receptive to the truth. Question. Which category were you in, Swamiji? Replies Annamalai Swami. I served Bhagwan for more than 12 years. After that, I came to this place because I wanted to be more established in the self. After several years of sadhana, I realized the self. Question. Is Swamiji totally established in the self? Annamalai Swami says, yes. Question. What happens in your deep sleep state? Is it the same as when you are awake? Annamalai Swami replies, yes. Question. I have heard that when people came close to Ramana Maharshi, they could feel a penetrating peace. As I sit here in the presence of Swamiji, I feel nothing. Why is this? Annamalai Swami replied. Not everyone felt peace in Bhagwan's presence. Madhava Swami served Bhagwan as his personal attendant for many years, but he claimed he felt no peace there. He used to have the same complaint as you. In his later days, he would say people are saying that whenever they are in the presence of Bhagwan, they feel tremendous peace. But when I go inside Bhagwan's hall, it is like hell for me. I am telling you this because the answer to your question is whether you feel peace or not in a jhani's presence depends on your maturity. People who are mature are sensitive to the Jnani's presence. Such people will immediately experience peace when they come into the presence of a Jnani. Others have to wait. Birds that are ready to bloom open when the sun's rays falls on them. Those that are not ready have to wait. Question. In other words, is it because of my immaturity that I am not able to feel peace in the presence of Swamiji? Annamalai Swami replies, don't make this kind of judgment about yourself. Don't think that you are not mature. If you hold on to this kind of thought, this will be a hindrance to your realization because the truth is already within you. Question. But Swamiji just said that if a person were mature, he would be able to feel peace in the presence of a realized soul. Annamalai Swami replies, maturity and immaturity belong to the mind. You are not the mind, you are already the self. Question. Are there differences in degree of realization of the self? For example, Ramana was widely acclaimed as a Sadguru. Is your understanding the same as Ramana's? Annamalai Swami replies, you see a big lamp before you. Your own lamp is unlit. So you bring your lamp to the lamp which is already burning. And when you go away from that lamp, you have your own lamp, your own light. Wherever you go from that point on, the light is with you. The state of jnana is the same for all. Anyone who realizes the self is the same state of peace which is beyond the mind. Though the experience of the self is the same in all cases, it is true that some jnanis end up helping a lot of people, whereas others who are equally enlightened may help fewer people. Some jnanis do not reach at all, they live ordinary lives and are rarely, if ever, recognized for what they really are. Water can be in a well or it can be in a lake. It is the same water, but one source can quench more thirst than the other. A small lamp can light up a room, whereas a big one can light up a whole street. Bhagwan was one of those big blazing lights that could light up a large, huge area. He guided and brought light to many people. Question. Swamiji is saying that some jnanis are big lamps and that others are small. Do the small lamps become bigger or do they always remain the same? Annamalai Swami. Whichever light you go to, the light is always the same. This business of the lamps is just an example. What I am trying to say is only a few people have the capacity to guide a large number of people towards the truth. Realizing the truth is one thing, but guiding others towards it is something else. All jnanis are not equally capable when it comes to guiding others. Question. But my question was, do the little lamps become big lamps or are they always destined to be little? A devotee of Annamalai Swami who was clearly irritated by this line of questioning then interrupted and asked, Why are you repeating the question? Have you just come here to test Swami's state? Annamalai Swami replies, this kind of questioning will not help you to realize the self. Questions such as these will disappear if you have a strong desire for realization. Your mind will then not be occupied with such thoughts. You can ask me many questions and I can give you any number of answers. We could go on like this for hours, but neither your questions nor my answers would give you any kind of contentment. Having such questions in your mind will not lead you to an experience of the self. I would advise you to question yourself who is asking the question and who is getting the answer. If you have this attitude towards your doubts and your questions, your quest for their source will lead you to back to the self. In that place, there are no questions and no answers, there is only peace. Question. I want to ask one last question. What is the significance of Arunachala? Last night was full moon. So many people went round the hill. I also went. Annamalai Swami replies, it is not an ordinary hill. It is not like other hills in the world. It is a spiritual hill. Those who associate with it feel a magnetic pull towards the self. Through it is in the form of a though it is in the form of a hill, it has the full energy of the self. Seekers who come to this place with the intention of realizing the self can be much benefited by going round the hill. Walking round the hill can help you a lot with your sadhana. There is water everywhere under the ground, but there are some places where it is easier to get at. Likewise, the self is everywhere. There is no place that is without it. But it is also true that there are certain places, certain people around which and around whom the presence of the self can be easily felt in the proximity of this hill. The presence of the self is more powerful and more evident than anywhere else. However, the great glory of this hill cannot be explained in words. One has to experience it oneself. We often say, I slept happily, but if someone asks, you explain in words the happiness you felt in that state, what can you say? You can experience it, but you cannot really explain it. This is how the self is. You can experience it, you can become it, but you cannot explain this state through words. The same thing can be said about this hill. You can experience it, but you cannot explain it in a satisfactory way. In Indian mythology, we have a fulfilling tree. If you find this tree and tell it what you want, your wish will be granted. Arunachala also has this reputation. That is why so many people come here on a full moonlight and walk around it. But very few people come here and ask for enlightenment, for undisturbed peace. All beings are ultimately searching for undisturbed peace. But who asks for it here? If you are ready to receive peace, Arunachala can give it to you. This peace is already within us, but people don't appreciate this, so they go looking for it all over the place in external locations. Question. Is it faith in Arunachala that produces results, or is it there some inherent power here that is independent of my belief in it? Annamalai Swami. You can say that Arunachala is a light. It shines whether you believe in it or not. If you go near a lamp, it will shine on you whether you believe in it or not. Arunachala is the light of the self, and the light of the self will continue to shine even if you refuse to believe that it is there. Question. In Arunachala, the only place that is like this, or are there other places? I have heard that there are powerful places in the Himalayas. Annamalai Swami replies, Bhagwan himself said that Arunachala is greater than all other religious places. There are other holy places, powerful places in the world, but none has the power of Arunachala. Bhagwan has written about this in his verses. There is a huge amount of Shakti, spiritual energy here. We can take as much as we want, but no matter how much we take, the original amount is never diminished. It is an inexhaustible source. Even before Bhagwan came and lived here, there were innumerable sages who had discovered the power of Arunachala for themselves. Many came here, realized the self, and attributed their realization to the power and grace of this mountain. Bhagwan has praised this mountain in his poetry, and other sages have talked about the spiritual greatness of Arunachala in their verses and in other teachings. Though others have praised the mountain, they did not succeed as well as Bhagwan in making Arunachala and its power famous all over the world. Bhagwan has revealed the secret of Arunachala, which is why so many foreigners now come here. Bhagwan always maintained that the power of this mountain was not a matter of belief. He said that if you sit in the shade of a tree, you will feel the cool shade. This is a physical fact, not a matter of belief. Then he went on to say that Arunachala worked in the same way. It affects the people who are here, whether they believe in it or not. He once said, Arunachala is like a fire. If you go near it, you will feel the heat, whether you believe in it or not. I also heard him say once, if you go round this hill, it will give you its grace even if you don't want it. Question. I read somewhere that Bhagwan said that Gyanis have the power to link the individual mind to the Supreme Self. Annamalai Swami. Yes, a big ship can carry many people to the other side of the ocean, and a small ship can carry only a few people. Question. And some Gyanis don't carry anywhere at all. Annamalai Swami. These Gyanis who don't have disciples don't appear to be helping anyone. But their power, the power of their realization, is having a beneficial effect on all beings. It is true, though, that some Gyanis pass away without teaching anyone directly. Lakshmi, the cow, and the Bhagwan's mother are examples of this. Bhagwan once said that one Gyani living on this earth is a tremendous help to all people. Annamalai Swami, yes, yes. Question. I want to ask Swamiji about his own experience. Was his own experience a single event, an explosion of knowledge, or did it happen more gradually in a more subtle way? Annamalai Swami replies, it was my experience that though through continuous sadhana I gradually relaxed into the self. It was a gradual process. Question. So it is not necessarily something that happens with a big bang. Annamalai Swami replies, it is not something new that suddenly comes. It is eternally there, but it is covered by so much. It has to be rediscovered. Question. But do some people explode into that? I was with a man this morning who claimed to be realized. He came here. Do you remember him? He said he had an experience of exploding into it and that the experience of the self, he says, stayed with him ever since 1982. Annamalai Swami replies, laughing. If he says, I don't know myself, or if he claims, I have known myself, both are statements to laugh at. Because you are that. You can be that, but there is nothing to say about it. If somebody says, I am a jnani, I am an enlightened person, then who is claiming that? Question. Yes, exactly, very good. Can I ask another question about my inquiry? I have been having small little glimpses, especially during sleep, of having no thoughts. There have been other glimpses in the most unlikely places. In Lucknow, which is a big city, with people yelling and screaming everywhere. I was cycling down a crowded street when I suddenly felt the peace of the self that was underlying everything. I could feel the self, or at least it was an experience that I thought I must have been the self. There was a stillness and a silence in the midst of these utterly chaotic conditions. At other times, the pendulum swings the other way, and I feel completely lost in my mental world and in the chaotic outside world. I feel a little confusion about the process and the techniques of self inquiry, so much so I have to go back to reading Ramana's teachings on the subject again and again until the confusion leaves me. I would like Swami's comments on this. I know that there is nothing new that I can say about it. I know that I have to continue with self inquiry. Annamalai Swami replies, constant meditation is the only way. If you bring the light into your room, the darkness immediately goes away. You have to see that the light is not put out. It has to be continuously burning so that there is no darkness. Until you get firmly established in the self, you have to continue with your meditation. Doubts take possession of you only if you forget yourself. Question. My doubts are not my only problem. I find that my yearning for the self is not very strong. This bothers me quite a lot. Annamalai Swami. When you forget the state of being yourself, then is the time to inquire. Who forgets the self? Who is in doubt? Who is having the confusion? Inquire in this way. Discard all that is not you and come back to yourself. Question. Sometimes I am overpowered by self-doubt. Annamalai Swami. If the meditation is not continuous enough, the other part of the mind becomes predominant. You have to overpower this mind that is taking place away from yourself by repeatedly doing this self enquiry. When you churn curd and separate butter and buttermilk, they will not become one again after they have been separated. If you take milk from the cow's udder, it will never go back into the cow again. In the same way, if you become established in the self, you will never go back into ignorance. So, this is the way. Question. When I do have these self doubts, the yearning or the desire to know myself does come quite strongly, but at other times it is not there so strongly. What do you think about this? Anamra Swami replies, whatever may be happening, inquire to whom all this happening. Whatever may be happening, inquire to whom is all this happening. Do this and go back to yourself, which is peace. Question. I thought this yearning was a plus point in my favor. Is not it a help to have this yearning? Anamrai Swami. If the intensity to know yourself is strong enough, the intensity of your yearning will also take you to the self. But still, question. But still, I must keep up with the inquiry. Annamalai Swami says, if you remain in the self, inquiry will not be necessary. If you move away from the self and go back to the mind, you then have to inquire again and go back to yourself. Question: to whom does this intensity to realize the self arise? It has to arise to the I that ultimately has to disappear. Annamalai Swami replies, who is this I? It is neither the body nor the mind. If you remain as the self, there is neither body nor mind. So, what is this I? Inquire into it and find out for yourself. When you see the rope, what happens to the snake? Nothing happens to it because there never was